let's kick off with discussions around liquidity on the market. The NSE is looking to enhance liquidity through increasing the volume of shares that is traded, and by reducing the volume of shares that are needed for a price movement. Can you elaborate on some of the initiatives that have been started on your front?
Yeah, well, morning, Samantha. Yes, exactly. The news did come out about the meeting the stock exchange management had regarding the number of shares required to move the prices. There is a thought now to move the volume to 10,000 shares rather than the 50,000, 100,000 it was earlier. I'm not certain what effects this is going to have exactly. It has been regarded as an experiment, and only a few stocks will be tried out with where this is concerned. I'm not too certain it may have the required effect. And we need to be very, very careful with this, because if the volumes are lower to enable you move the price and the market is in a fall as we have now, it could just go the opposite way.
Yeah, it could have a negative effect there, as you say, as we've had the sell-off recently. In the pharmaceutical sector, NIC has just completed a statutory agreement in order to issue new shares on the stock exchange. Just before this was announced, that stock fell by 4% to 1 naira and 10 kobo. The stock now trading or sitting on the stock exchange is suspended, but sitting at a price below the right offer price. Why is this so?
Well, I typically would have expected that the price would have been put on technical suspension at the time the documents were filed. I'm not too certain what has happened, but we have an interesting situation where you have the market price at a naira 10 kobo and the rights price at a naira 50 kobo. It just means shareholders are going to have to take their rights at a premium. But one thing is certain, there are a number of key investors who are committed to the future of the company, because NIC itself emerged from a management buyout by a group of investors when Pfizer Incorporated was going to exit the company. And this group are still committed to the company. So I expect a significant amount of the rights being offered to be taken. And nevertheless, you might...
There was a strong turnaround in profit for the company. If you just look at year to March this year versus the previous year, a profit of just over 100 million naira versus a loss the previous year. So when you look at the fundamentals, the company's doing something right there.
Yeah, well, the company has in fact been hit by, I dare say, what we have, the fake drugs that have come into the market of late. It's affected NIC, and not just NIC in that industry. A lot of the other pharmaceutical companies have had to suffer from the effects of having cheaper and adulterated drugs, fake drugs in the market being imported. And this is something they're all striving towards. But what we're beginning to see about NIC is that they're putting their production facilities straight. They're working very closely with the NAFDAC, the commission responsible for checking the importation of fake drugs. And they're beginning to go back into the blue. Projections are pretty optimistic, but I think it's a 9% growth between March this year and March next year is quite achievable for NIC.
How would you rate a company, a smaller pharmaceutical sector company like NIC versus a GlaxoSmithKline, which is of course a leader in the sector?
Well, it's interesting because you've got GlaxoSmithKline, you've got May and Baker. They're just two of the companies in that sector. But one thing is that they're not relying on their core products, which is pharmaceuticals alone. You've also got them going into food and beverages. GlaxoSmithKline has two very well-known household names as brands, Lucozade and Ribena. They're pushing out those pretty well, and they're beginning to actually contribute to their bottom line significantly. May and Baker, on the other hand, as a matter of fact, has in its vision a desire to be a major conglomerate in Nigeria. So it's going to be pharmaceuticals and a few other things which are moving fast. And I think perhaps that's the way to play. As a matter of fact, I am aware that NIC is beginning to consider going into energy drinks and food-related products so that they can broaden the range of products which are going to be pushed into the market. All these companies have pretty wide distributive capacity. They've been around in the market for quite a while. They've got established assets. Facilities are being upgraded. I think they're the sort of companies that in the long term will certainly have a positive impact
so
to their shareholders.
long-term growth prospects in the pharmaceutical sector there.